Ok.
Giorgio.
Ok, Mattias, quindi tu sei l'unico insieme a me che può parlare. You're the only one that can speak together with me if you want.
Thank you, I'm honored.
So we are two dictators now. So now it's 10:30, but let's give 1 or 2 minutes more. And I mute you, Matthias, better not you. But you are in an office with some other people. So participants are now 31. The subscribers were 90. So it's a low percentage, I guess, that someone is going to reach us in the last, no, not the last, but the next minute. And therefore, let's wait for 1 minute and then we start. By the way, it's quite normal. It looks like during the quarantine, when anyone had to stay at home, the participants were more. And also in terms of percentage, then they were really there. But now it's only 30–40% of the subscribers that are used to come. Now it's 34, and I would say that 1 minute is not finished yet. Just 1 minute more and we start. Okay, we start. Actually, probably all of you expected that I started from the configurator itself, but it's worth making an introduction, okay? For you to understand what's the situation of the market, what's the situation of Motive, if or not, whether using it or not, okay? So why a configurator, speaking generally, is used? The first thing that we know, that we get in our mind, is that it's an automatic way to create datasheets, 3D models, drawings, okay? Another that we have in our mind, but I never saw in our field, because of some complications that Motive solved, is that a configurator is normally calculating the price. Imagine when you configure, maybe you used it in past, a car. You want your seat made in a certain way, your accessories, your wheels, and so on, and you configure the car. It gives you the price. But with power transmission, when you mix motors, gearboxes, accessories, special executions, and so on, this becomes more complicated. And therefore, no one is giving you the price of a configuration. They give you just the price of a standard product. Another is that it facilitates the issue of orders. Once you have made your own configuration, you should be able to deliver your order of such a configuration without the duty of describing something complicated that can generate misunderstandings. So you avoid misunderstandings between you and the producer. Also, you and your own client, because our configurator is also shared inside the websites of many of our distributors for them to give to their clients such a free service online. And in that way, there is no misunderstanding between their client and the distributor and Motive. At the same time, there is no misunderstanding between the commercial department and the production department of Motive and the delivery department, because in Motive, in our system, we have to prepare everything with codes. Any choice that you do in the configurator has a name, which is a code. You want the cable gland to be put in a strange point, this has already been coded. You want the torque arm to be mounted, it's a code. You want it to be mounted to 45 degrees, it's another code. Everything has a code for us not to have any misunderstanding inside our company and outside the company. Another reason why a configurator is normally used is that it allows you to choose the most correct product. But we'll see that in our field, many configurators start from the thinking that you already know the techniques of our field and all the names of the manufacturer of which you are using the configurator. It doesn't help you to choose a product according to certain technical input data, like I have this torque, I have this speed, what gearbox, gear motor should I use? It helps to sell more professionally. Think about when a customer asks you a price and maybe you don't do it anymore, but you were used to say, okay, this kind of motor, kilowatt pulse shape, has this price. But actually, do you sell motors, gearboxes, and inverters, or commodities? If you just give a price for something generically explained, like kilowatt, it's like you are selling by kilos. You are not selling a product, a specific product. But if you can support your offer with something easy to be obtained, which was engineering deliverable, like datasheets, 3D models, and drawings, and you do it by default because it's easy, it's fast, it's free, then when you will support your offer to your client, you will do it in a way that will give more trust to your client. You are not selling a commodity anymore. You are selling something that you trust in, that you describe very precisely. And to describe it very precisely, we had to put in our configurator the formal and informal knowledge of our company. The formal is what you normally find in a manual and in a catalog, performance datasheets, dimensional datasheets. And informal is what is too much for a catalog or a manual, is what not even the manufacturer expects you to know. It's the reason why the manufacturer, when selling something which is a technical base, needs someone to support you. For instance, you may have questions like, can I make ATEX with this accessory? Can I mix this and this together? Can I mount them in this way, etc.? These are all things that cannot be explained by a manual or a catalog. It's too much data. And no one of us has the time not even to read a manual or a catalog. If you do not have the time to read the manual or a catalog, most of you didn't, because by experience I know it, how can you have the time to know also the informal knowledge, which is normally owned only by the manufacturer? So the configurator becomes a toy for you to get all this information in an easy and interactive way. You need to know something, you need something, the configurator is going to tell you by playing. How popular and used is Motif Configurator? Actually, this data is quite impressive. Do you remember the advantages that I already explained you? Actually, you will see that they are not there with normal configurators of our field. Not even the motors and not even the gearboxes manufacturers are able to give all this data in this easy, interactive way. We really like to say the verb playing. By making a more user-friendly configurator, but even more populated by technical information and giving more weapons to the sales, we obtained a result that not even the giants were able to obtain. We are in 2019, for instance, we got 289,000 configurations in 1 year, which means 1,500 configurations. So if some of you, if you are here, it's because you're interested in the configurator, but as you can imagine, many others have been invited to be part of this webinar and they are not there. Probably they are thinking that since no one is using it, because they are not using it, they think that they are not using it, then it's not so important to know it. In reality, the world is moving, is going ahead. And many people of your field in your country are probably already using the configurator as a business weapon. So you have to decide whether to be ahead or whether to be backwards, whether to be with a competitive advantage or leave the competitive advantage to your competitor. Why has Motif been able to reach such Motif configurator, be able to reach such a popularity? Let's look at what we have in our field. which is the motives why we decided to make also our own configurator in a different way. With motors makers, the configurators are not very popular. They are a bit rare, okay? Maybe they are less needed. Motors, more than gearboxes or drives, are used to be sold like commodities where the price wins. And there, if this is the kind of sales, the way of selling, then it also wins the most desperate. And with motors makers, it's normally made by steps, okay? You have to know also your field techniques and what mean TAT, MDP, something like that mean in this gearbox manufacturer catalog. Choice is very limited, by the way. Imagine all the ways that a motor could be. Protected for heating, for humidity, mechanical adaptation, encoders, power coolings, all the kind of brakes, electrical protections, and so on. A motor can be something which is specifically made for a specific application, being sold as something adding a value. But if you have a configurator like this, it's just like I'm choosing from a catalog. And final result is normally just a raw 3D CAD model, okay? Not a datasheet. With gearboxes makers, the configurators are more frequent and generally more sophisticated. But first I find one frequent problem. You are first requested to log in. First you have to request a username and a password and wait for it to be given by the manufacturer. After that, you have been given their allowance, then you have to repeat. Every time you make a configuration, you have to repeat the input of username and password. I see it like a stupid obstacle because all these gearboxes manufacturers are also in international libraries like Cadenas, Trace Parts, etc., where anyone with no authorization, no login, can download any drawing that they want. Unknown people can download these drawings. And these manufacturers, which are asking you to ask them their permission to enter, are paying these libraries like one pays the clicks in a Google campaign. So this is the first stupid obstacle. But then the main problem is this. The configuration is made at steps. Every time it has to recalculate something. And you have to know what you're doing. You are not driven, okay? If you make a mistake, you may also get an answer after that you fill several forms, an answer like, no, this is not possible, restart from zero. Oh gosh. And you have to know, it is presuming that you know the techniques of the field and all these names given by the manufacturer. This is not helping you to make a choice. It's like you already made your choice by yourself. And you are just wishing to reach a datasheet or a CAD drawing. After all these answers, the result is something like this. Normally, very little focus on the motor data. They give some generical data. Participants are raising hands. I don't know what's raising hand, but you can put your questions in the chat, okay? Write down all your questions in the chat, and at the end of the webinar, I will answer, okay? If you are asking me what manufacturer is this, I'm not going to tell you, but this is just a sample, okay, an example. And so you can download drawings. The datasheet is not telling you much about the motor. The drawing is not about the motor because the gearbox manufacturer is not producing the motor. There are also gearboxes manufacturers which are also producing motors and inverters. But the problem is that the motors are produced in a country, the gearbox is in another country, the inverters in another country, in different teams, and they are not able to join all this knowledge. Therefore, still the configurator is normally focusing only on the gearbox. And no one was yet able to put together with a gear motor the result of a variable speed drive mounted on board of a motor or separately. They are not giving you the output data from the gear motor when there is also a variable frequency drive. With Motive Configurator, there are several advantages, but I'm going to show you them one by one before starting playing, because we will also play, okay, with the configurator. I think that this is what you are expecting, but it's worth telling you this in advance. There is no login. Anyone can enter, okay? There is no secret. You don't need to be an expert. You play and you learn. And you learn also by going inside every matter. We are using images. We are not using our own internal codes or names, okay? We are using images, and if you want to know something more, you just click on some question points, or you click on the download of an explanation. It speaks in 19 languages. Selection can either be by product, when you already know what you want, or by performance. In that case, you are helped. Let's say that you are a designer of a machine. You know what's the torque that you need, the speed that you need, but you don't know what you shall choose. Or you want to replace a gear motor of another brand, and you have to find out what's our corresponding gear motor. So you know the kilowatt of a motor which is there, the polarity of a motor which is there, but you don't know what is the ratio which shall be there, and what is the size of a gearbox which shall be there, because two gearboxes, a small and a big, can do the same work with the same ratio and the same motor. They have the same output in terms of torque and speed, but the one may be too expensive and another one may be too fragile. So what is the right one? Therefore, the configurator is driving you in the right choice, also by making you some questions which are regarding the service factor, like the number of starts per hour, the number of hours per day, the motor is a brake motor or not. It is calculating what is the stress that the gearbox must withstand for you to choose a right size of gearbox. And then at the end, it gives you a list of possible choices for you to choose the one that you prefer. The interface is only one page with a scrolling bar. So you don't have to jump and hop from one page to another, recalculate, and forget what you had chosen before. And you cannot make errors, because if you make an error while you make a configuration, you will be told this is not possible, you must opt this or this, and so on. The recalculation happens only when you want. You put another input, and the preview and all the interlaced configurations will update when you will decide to submit your inquiry. You can submit it many times anyway. It is putting together the motor, the gearbox, but also the variable frequency drive, of course, our variable frequency drive and not another, by giving you a drawing of a whole, and by giving you also the performance of the whole. There is a graph telling you what happens at the torque, Newton meter, at the power, kilowatt, and at the RPM, speed, at the different frequencies of the inverter. Also, of course, adapted to the rated frequency of your grid in your country. If you have 60 Hertz, it starts from a certain torque and speed and the kilowatt and frequency. If you have 50 Hertz, the graph is different. In one page only, you can get whatever you want. 3D models, bidimensional CAD files, bidimensional or three-dimensional datasheets, PDF, and the prices too, all in one page. So you can create your, I'm used to call also transformer, your monster, and you can get the price of it. You don't need to send your monster to a company and ask someone to create a new code for it, wait for it to be made. Maybe they are not going to make it because it's not worth for one product only. At Motive, yes, because it's the machine here which makes it. And then you have to wait for someone to calculate the cost and your price and make a specific quotation. Here, it's all automatic. There are a lot of customizations that you can play with according to electrical requests, mechanical requests, environment requests, encoders, and ATEX, and so on. All these customizations that you can play with to offer to your client something specific for him and for his application, which is what is going to get your customer loyalty. All of them are interlaced. It's quite complicated. It's a tough work, but we can do it. At Motive, we can do it, and we'll see why we can do it and some others cannot. And this is what comes out when you make all your choices. In this case, a customer decided to put a gearbox together with a motor, together with an inverter, to have certain accessories for the gearbox, for the inverter, to mount it in a certain way, to have certain electrical protection, and so on. And it came out with a price. This price is also changing. Sorry, something is not working properly now. Come on, go on. Okay. This price is also changing according to the quantity. Special executions, price lists, or Motive, which are corresponding to these results, have diversified the price according to the quantity that you need. You need more, the price, the unit price lowers. And then you can do something as a distributor, if you are, that many others already did. You can put our configurator in your website. It's not a copy paste. It's not save into, because our configurator is subject to continuous improvements and updates daily. Okay, so it's an IP address, but the client doesn't jump out of your website to go into ours. It remains in your website, and it doesn't see that it's our configurator maintained by us. Of course, it sees Motive products, but it looks like it's yours. You did it. We made an investment of almost €500,000 to reach such a result in terms of external people and internal work. And it's free for you if you want to do it. It will help you to work less because your customer will be helped online by an automatic tool, and it will help you to avoid errors too. And then the configurator is connected to our section called Buy Online, where one can make the orders. This is not something which is there when you put the IP address of our configurator into your website, like those that we saw in the previous page. This doesn't happen. It happens only for those who are in Motive configurator and have some credentials given by Motive. Here, yes, the credentials are needed, not to make a configuration, but to see the prices, because every client has its own prices. The prices are not always the same. Some clients deserve a better price, some others not. Therefore, every client, if he wants to see its prices, it has to log in. And once it has logged in, then he can save the configuration in his Buy Online area for the future, or make an order directly. How did Motive succeed where others didn't? First, because we are all in one company only, designing and producing motors, gearboxes, and drives. We are not in several countries. One of the problems in our field for big companies is how to put together all their knowledge. The giants may have 1,000 engineers. How can you put them all together? How can you make them work in synchrony? It's a mess. But if you want to do a configurator like Motif did, you need to have in prompt time a full knowledge of what happens in production with suppliers, the feasibility, with the techniques of everything, for you to know what is possible, what is not possible, what is right and what is wrong. Another problem for the others to reach such a result is only a daily huge work, patience and belief for years and years can reach such a huge work. I will show you something for you to have an idea. The artichokes. I hope that you know what is the artichoke. Artichoke is a vegetable made of many leaves. And you must imagine that for every motor type, every size of motor, every size of gearbox, of any gearbox range, every size of drive, of any drive range, you have to have behind an artichoke like this. An artichoke like this is made by, look at the left, a lot of parts. We can be in a lot of position with a lot of subversions. If I start choosing what I want, it's like I do not choose, let's say, for instance, here I see a Neo Wi-Fi 11, which is what is possible to be mounted on this motor size. So if I cancel Neo 11, inside you will see some other choices, which is the terminal box in a lot of positions. Too many choices, and it's quite difficult for me to show you Neo. Well, come on. Let's cancel Neo Wi-Fi. Too many things. Sorry, I surrender. It's too big, this artichoke. There are things which are on each other. And you can see even in this artichoke how many things are possible, but I make some examples. This is the feet in one position, in another position, another position. Here, probably there is inside also a Neo, which is even smaller. There is a Nano, which is even smaller. Without the drives, we will see the terminal boxes in every position with the cable glands in every position. Here there are any kind of brake, double brake, any kind of power cooling, single phase, three phase, 24 volts, ATEX and non-ATEX, and so on. And can you imagine work multiplied for every motor, gearbox, variable drive size? And then another thing is the database in Excel. Let's go here, okay? For instance, let's open, here I have some database about performance and dimensions of gearboxes, motor drives, and then there are some other, let's open this, for example. This is just to calculate the price or to calculate the power cables. Look, just to calculate, when you choose that you want a power cable to be mounted on motor, there is behind a database of this size calculating your voltage, your connection, your kind of motor, and you see, this is just for the cable. Multiply this per any feature. The cable is nothing. We just introduced it. And some price list, what happens if you choose a certain brake and so on, what happens to the prices according to your quantity, etc., etc. Lot of things. Okay, and this is just one of the many Excel sheets that you saw. So now probably I've almost finished to bore you. Yes, I finished to bore you with introduction. I can start showing you, playing with you, not playing all alone because I muted all of you with the configurator. But by the way, remember, if you have questions, put them in the chat. Okay. Now let's go to the configurator. Here it is. As I told you, it's 90 languages. There are some Russians between you, among you. There is also Russian and so on. And but well, you can see the languages here. Now let's choose a basic product. Let's say just a motor. We make one simple and one complicated. Okay, just the motor. I can make the search by performance when I just know what the speed that I want, or and the power, the torque, and so on, or simply by product. I already know what the motor size. Futurely, we'll also add NEMA motors and NEMA gearboxes. Now it's only IEC, of course. Okay, let's say motor size 80. If I also choose the kilowatt, the list decreases. If I also choose the poles, the list decreases, and so on. 80 before. I have 3 versions to choose from. I also have several possible voltages because our motors are multi-voltage, multi-frequency, different efficiency, or a special motor called Delfire for 100 degrees. Let's say that I want an IE2. Submit, and now it tells me what kind of motor do I want. Do I want also a variable speed drive? What kind of variable speed drive? I don't know what I'm talking about. So if I want to know what I talk about, what is Neo Wi-Fi, what's the difference with NeoComp, etc., I just have to click on something like this, and it's going to shift me to a web page or download a document. Okay. Is it a brake motor? Let's say it's a brake motor. What kind of brake? It's ATTD or a single brake, a double brake? What mounting way, etc. Since I shifted, I opted for a brake motor, it is also offering me some special execution above the brake. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to give you an explanation about our products now. I'm just going to show you how to play with a configurator. By playing, you learn, okay? So I had chosen also a Neo Wi-Fi, and therefore it opened another possibility of options, which is about the Neo Wi-Fi. But let's say that I said that I wanted to stay in the basic motor, so let's cancel the variable speed drive. Then I have RTX options that can change according to the motor that I choose as well. With a standard motor, it's easier. There is only one RTX, which is including all the ambient groups, zones, etc. 90% of the market is there, dust and gas. Those who had the luck to be there in RTX webinar know what I'm talking about. Spatial ambient conditions protection. I can click on them and everything will change. Let's do it. Okay, let's do some options like just to show you what happens. Okay, I want a cable, and here is going to choose also the cable. How many meters you want them to be mounted? 1.9. Okay, meters. Okay. Encoder. What kind of encoder? An incremental encoder, no default programming because I needed 2000 pulses and so on. I'm playing and making a solution specific for a client. This is not something that you can obtain with some other configurators. The others are supporting you only to sell commodities, motors by kilos, and there the most desperate wins. Here there is the possibility to be more professional. Electrical protection. Okay, mechanical adaptations. Let's say I need a roller bearing because it's a belt drive. I know there is a high gradual load and so on. Now, if I want to know the price, I should log in. Otherwise, I can only get the datasheet and the CAD drawing, 3-dimensional or bidimensional. Let's say that I have a profile, and let's put it in. This is the profile of Pippo. Pippo is used in Italy for fake profiles. Pippo has this profile. Login. And now I know the price of everything. And this price changes according to the quantity. If I put, for instance, you will see this unit price of special executions. For instance, the incremental encoder 140. Let's say that I want 5 motors like this, and the incremental encoder costs 130, costs less. Okay. Now I want the PDF with a 3D view. I like the 3D view because it shows exactly how it is. This is a bidimensional view, which is quite rough. But if I click on PDF datasheet with 3D view, it has to generate also the CAD file. And it starts modeling what you have decided that you wanted. You see, it is generating the CAD file. Let's wait for its calculation for a few seconds. And then we'll see what monster did we do. Actually, this is a small transformer, okay? Now, let's look at it. Sorry, I have, okay. This is the preview with the overall dimensions. These are only the encumbrance. The real aspect of this product is here. Actually, I have to say that it is reliable. This is an Acrobat request. Okay, and now it is here. You see, this is what we did. There is an encoder. That is what we did. There is the motor that we are choosing. This is going to be its aspect. Okay. This is the datasheet which comes out with the code of a product and with all its electrical, mechanical data, some data that only Motive declares, like the temperature rise of a motor, which is some data that we declare also in our catalog. And the name of everything, which avoids any misunderstanding. If you send this datasheet, or if you make the order starting from this configurator, jumping in the buy online area, then you will have a list of codes, which is this, with the prices that we had seen before. In those prices that we had seen, which were these ones, we had the same codes. Okay. There are some further data which are further giving professionality to the offer that you send to your client, to which you attach this data sheet, like the curve of torque and current and speed, the efficiency curve, the heating curve, and some certifications. If I opted for a special motor like an ATEX motor, then here you could find also the ATEX certification. Okay, let's say that this datasheet is quite heavy to be sent by email. No problem. You just have to copy the link, go into your mailing software, and it's done. When your client will click on this link, it will download the CAD drawing. The PDF drawing, or the CAD drawing, CAD 3D. And so you sent it. 1,500 of these things per day, okay? So it means the world is moving, the world is using more and more. The last year, we didn't have a big increase of the number of users, only 10%, but we had a big increase of the number of configurations which were made. It increased 40%. It means that those who are using it need to keep on using it more and more for their business, because this is business. Okay, I made you a simple configuration. Now let's set up a transformer for you to see how powerful it is, this configurator. Okay, let's put together a gearbox with a motor, with an inverter, sorry, a variable speed drive also called. Since our variable speed drive are all to be mounted on motorboard and not sold separately, or better, you can buy them separately, but the configuration is there to configure something and not to buy something in its carton which is already finished. Okay, so we have decided to start from the gear motor and give the possibility to the client to choose, I want the inverter too. So We have a search by product when I already know what I want. I also know that I want a variable speed drive, or a search by performance. I'm an engineer, an engineering company, and I just know I need this Newton meter. Or, as it happens often, the customer tells you, I have a gear motor of this kind. Please tell me what is your offer. So you start by asking him, okay, what's the kilowatt of that motor? Since you do not know the Newton meter. Okay, it's 1.1. And how many poles does it have? 4. Okay, what's the speed that you need? I don't know. Okay, what's the ratio that you find written on the gearbox that you want to replace? Oh, it's 15. Okay, done. Do you want, since you are using a fan, a variable speed drive? Yes, I want a variable speed drive. I'm using it to freeze the back of the cows in my farm. Okay, so what's the power supply in your farm? Oh, I only have single phase. Good. I'm going to put a single phase variable speed drive. Here you see it had already calculated the speed and the kilowatt according to our initial data that we had put in. But now you need to choose also the right size of gearbox, because he didn't tell you, or better, gearboxes are not like motors where you can mention 1 HP and 4 poles. In the gearboxes, 2 gearboxes of 2 different shapes, 2 different sizes can have the same result if they have the same ratio. They multiply the torque and they multiply the speed with the same ratio. So why should I use a big expensive gearbox, or why should I use a small cheap gearbox which is too fragile? I choose it according to the use that I do of it, okay? Because I want a certain life of the hours of my system. I do not want to have any problem, but I do not want to spend too much. So let's say that I have to choose the right load class. Here you see I put my finger on the question point and I see what happens. C, B, or I'm moving air, I said. I'm in a farm, I'm moving air. It is starting only once per day. So you see the service factor which is required is lowering. How many hours per day? Oh no, 24 hours. Okay. Well, if the service factor goes, is it bidirectional rotation? No. Is it with a self-braking motor? No, I don't need it. I'm in a farm. I'm ventilating the backs of my cows only. Okay. So I submit all my inputs. It calculates all my options. This is what the configurator is recommending you to use to replace the gear motor of the others. Let's say that I like this one. And I want an i3 motor. Sorry. The fire was not possible because I had a gearbox. You see, the configurator corrects your errors. It avoids you to submit to your client a wrong offer and to motive a wrong order. Okay? So I was here and I had to choose i3. Okay. Now, how do I mount the gearbox onto the machine? By a foot. Okay, good. How do you want it to be interchangeable with a company like Drive and all of those who follow these measures? No, it's Bonfiglioli. Okay, then this is the base that you have to use. This is the sizes of Bonfiglioli. In fact, we call this base BF. Okay, or he can tell you, no, I have an output flange. Yes, right, it's a fan. Okay, then what's the output flange? 160. Okay, you see, it doesn't have any base anymore. It has corrected your choice because you forgot to cancel that. The output shaft, what measures do you want? Oh, I want it bigger. Okay, 30. What mounting position? It's vertical with the shaft down. The fan, axial fan is down. Okay, V6, no, V5. The picture speaks better than words. Do I have any further special execution on the gearbox? Yes. Actually, my cows farf a lot, and therefore they make a gas which is rusting everything. Okay, C5M special paint, and let's paint also let's make a special coating against rust also on input and output shaft. Okay, Then I don't need anything else here, but I must remind my special execution. If I do not, okay, you see, the configurator has already chosen for you that also the motor shall be protected against rust by a special paint. You can also say, I want also the winding, the copper winding, to be encapsulated by a resin coat, because I want it to last for a long time against everything, because it rains inside my building. Okay, anything else? I don't need encoders, because actually the fan, I want it to be with a variable speed drive for the fan to be automatically blowing more air when it's warmer and less air when the climate is cold. But I don't need the encoder for that. Mechanical protection adaptation. Yes, my fan sometimes vibrates and gives a lot of vibrations to the motor bearing. So let's protect it against this failure. Electrical protection. Okay, yes, I need a power cooling because sometimes the fan rotates so little. Oh yeah, but you are moving air. If you move air, it's a fluid. If you move a fluid, the power decreases exponentially. The absorbed power decreases exponentially. So you're not going to heat. Okay, no power cooling. That is also where you can be a supporter, an advisor for your client. You play, you learn, okay? And now I made the transformer. Let's submit my transformer and let's see what happens and what people is going to pay for it as well. You see, it set up all the codes. My robust with my flange, it's inside this code. My motor, i3, and a lot of options that I asked it for, okay? Now, I also want to see how is it. Show me. Sorry, I have a problem here, which is a bar. Okay, now I can scroll it. That's because it's not easy to play with Zoom together with the website. Now, let's see what happens. How is it my transformer in a 3D view? And how is it the datasheet? Okay, it is calculating. It is making the CAD file automatically. You don't need to wait for any guy in Motive to do it. Imagine 1,500 configurations per day. How many technicians you should have? And you would pay for them. And you would pay their time too, because they are going to delay and you lose business. Generating the CAD file. This time is more complicated than the previous one. It's getting a lot of leaves of the artichoke that we saw before. Now let's see the result. My transformer. Okay, yes, I declare it a reliable document. Let me work, Adobe. Okay, here it is. This is what I did. It was quite simple this time. The transformer could be much more complicated. And sorry, I had canceled the variable speed drive, and I'm sorry for that. I had canceled the variable speed drive. Let's go back to the variable speed drive. Let's say that I want the variable speed drive. I had forgotten it. Sorry. Yes, I want the variable speed drive. To do that, I have to restart. I admit, in this case, I have to restart for certain reasons. Let's do it fast, okay? Let's restart from 0, and let's put a variable speed drive onto my gearbox, which was a gearbox 25, HO 15 with a variable speed drive. I want this variable speed drive, and I had chosen this, submit. I had this flange. Okay, I have some special options. I'm not going to tell you which anymore. And now, people. People has these prices, and it is calculating the new configuration with a variable speed drive to give to the customer the alternative. Sorry, first I have to click that I want the datasheet. So now generating the CAD file, which is also generating the 3D datasheet. If you want it faster, if you don't mind of a 3D view, you don't have to generate the CAD files. And therefore, you just have to click on, I want the PDF datasheet with no 3D view, okay? But since I'm quite complicated, I'm showing you the 3D view. Few seconds. Sorry for the waiting, but it's needed. It's making in some seconds the work of some days. Okay, now let's see it. How is it with, we have seen it, we have seen the datasheet without the variable speed drive. Now we see it with variable speed drive. Okay, yes, it's a reliable document, and therefore now you can show me the 3D view. Here it is. You see? Before, it was different. It was like this. Open it. Okay. And now it is with the variable speed drive mounted on motherboard. And the datasheet is showing what is happening at all the frequencies to RPM, to the torque, and to the speed. The torque not of the motor, the torque of the gear motor with a variable speed drive, okay? So these 154 Newton meter are the rated torque at the rated frequency. But now, if I increase the speed, what happens to the torque? Here I see it. And what happens if I decrease the speed? It happens that the power decreases, and therefore the torque is constant, because torque per speed is kilowatt. The formula is Newton meter per RPM divided 9,550 is kilowatt, okay? So you decrease the speed, you are decreasing the power, unless you are increasing the torque, but the torque does not increase with an inverter when you decrease the speed. Okay, so this is what happens to the fan. It is decreasing the power and decreasing the speed when the cows are at a low temperature. This is the accessory. This is the sheet where you would see also the special executions, but here we didn't choose any special execution. So we played enough, but I didn't show you one thing, the last thing. I have one configuration and people want to save it and go to the customer area, or wants simply to order it, but I want to save it. So, sorry. I had click on submit, no. I had changed something and therefore now. Patience. Okay. Okay, Sassel is, I click on it, and now in the custom, Pippo is in the customer area with its own configuration. Pippo is Spanish, and therefore it is with the Spanish words, but he could speak some other languages. The buy online area speaks German, English, Spanish, French, doesn't speak all the languages of a configurator, okay? I want to add it to the shopping cart, I want to order it, and so on. Okay, these are configurations that people have saved in part, but saved in past. Add to the shopping cart, and then I can, sorry, I'm still problem with Zoom. I go to the orders list, so it's here. I want to buy it. And now people can send the order. He can say, I want all my order in one shipment only if it had, this is a question which makes sense if it had a lot of items. Or please Moti, send first what is ready first and later what is left. Or please ship it on 6 August. Actually, I have to write something down here, which is this is a fake order. Please do not confirm it. Okay, why am I writing it? Because now, if I send this order, it will be sent to all the commercial staff who will import it in the system automatically, so no input errors, and it will be received by all of them. Okay? So now you also see the buy online area. In reality, I could tell you something more than that. Sorry. And I could, for instance, show you that it can show you the status of all the sent orders. Line by line, item by item, you could see whether they are in production, whether they have been prepared for shipment, whether they have been shipped, which was the courier, who put it on the pallet, and something like that. In reality, there is a traceability motive, which is quite impressive, but we are not here to talk about it. Okay, now I've almost finished 1 hour, and it's time to answer to your questions. I'm happy that you didn't run away with my explanation, but you increased in number. Okay, Jordi is also already answering to the clients, to the participants. Okay, is every user able to see the prices on the configurator? No, Audrius, no. Only if you have the credentials given by Motive, you can see your own prices. Credentials are given for that. Okay, you cannot log in. You have to log in before seeing the prices. But in future, the configurator is going to show the prices to anyone. But don't worry, the prices are very high prices. Okay. Do we have total enclosed non-ventilator motors in our segment? Yes. If you play with the configurator, you will see an option which is no ventilation. Sorry, Zoom is quite invasive in my screen. So let's go to special ambient conditions protection, which should show us also the ventilation. Or I'm mistaken, and it is maybe in mechanical protection, because yes, here it is. No fan, IC 418, closed non-drive end shield. If I click on this, you will see that my preview will change. Let's say I take away this, submit. So it's faster to show the preview. The price changes, you see, non-ventilated motor. You can also opt for a power-cooled motor. And that is in electrical protection. Yeah, here. Okay, there are different kind of power coolings. If I click on this, I want the power cooling, and then I submit, it will show me a different motor once again. It was like, sorry. Okay, once again, I told you it's quite invasive. Here, no ventilation, and now submit. You see, with power cooling. You can also see that the T-box has been put left because the configurator knows what is needed when you make your choices. Otherwise, it was on the top. Here, the configurator knows that the terminal box of the power cooling would interfere with the position of the variable speed drive. And now, let's go back to the chart. Okay. I can't choose input motor speed, it's default, but I need, no. You can choose input motor speed. But I need more variety to increase output speed from gear head. I don't find double speed motor. Okay, you don't find double speed motor. That's another thing. You can choose the inverter, the variable speed drive. You can't find our double speed motors here. There are too many. It was really too complicated, and furthermore, they are quoted according to the quantity. Sometimes they are not even feasible if you order one or two. That's why we decided to avoid the double speed motor and focus on variable speed drive, which are also offering a lot of energy saving, which is the future. We didn't invest our time in something which is about the past. Okay, the input motor speed, of course, it can be chosen. Whether you choose the motor or you choose the gearbox, when you make a search by performance, let's say, let's make a new choice with a warm gearbox, search by performance. Here you can choose your RPM, or you can choose the polarity of your motor. Okay, now let's say that anyway you need two speeds. You can choose a variable speed drive and you have something better than a double speed motor. Okay, Jordi had already answered to Audrius, I didn't see. Good. Hazardous motors can be configured? Yes. And that's something quite interesting in Motive, because, you know, when you mix a gearbox with variable speed drive, with some accessories, with a motor, every part of this transformer may have its own specific ATEX certification. And the final degree of the ATEX protection is determined by the lowest degree of all these items which are put together. I will make you an example, okay? Let's say no variable speed drive. And I want submit. ATEX. I have only one ATEX. Why? Because Motive simplified things to clients. In only one, I have all the zones, 1, 2, 21, 22. It's only missing the zones of category 1, which are zone 0 and zone 20, which are quite rare, by the way, okay? And now I see, focus on this, groups A and B, okay? Why groups A and B? Because I'm going to show you something, which is this. This was the webinar for ATEX. So you see this table chart. Gearboxes are certified like standard motors for everything except for group C. If I only choose motor, I could find group A, B, C in that description. But since I have also gearbox, and gearbox does not comply with the gases and the dusts, group C, for instance, metal dusts which are conductive, okay, then the gear motor becomes only group A and B. If I put a power cooling, it was also losing the zones 1 and 21, which is the category 2, okay? So one of Motive efforts as a manufacturer of motors, gearboxes, and drives is to give you the possibility to cover the widest range of ATEX applications when you mix our products. So recently, one of our efforts, it has been to add to this category 3 breaks, also breaks which are category 2. And this has been recently added into the configurator. Sorry, this ATEX webinar was old, but if we go to my, where are you? Sorry, let's go down. Here it is, okay. If I decide that the the motor shall be a brake motor, then it's going to ask me, the ATEX, do you want it for zone 22, or for zone 2, or for zone 2 and 22? Sorry, it is not showing you zone 1 and 21 just because we added it too recently. Sorry for that. I thought it was already updated, but it's going to be updated in the next days. So in the next days, you will find a fourth option. If you want it, ATEX zone 1, 2, 22, 21. Question, why didn't Motive offer only one, which is covering everything? Because in this case, only in this case, if we simplify the things to you, then you will going to pay a lot also when it was not needed, because unfortunately, category 2 brake motors are costing a lot. Let's see the last question. Oh my God, I have some troubles with, show me the chat, okay. Country confirm standard backlash in case of worm and helical bevel gearboxes. This is not a training about products. This is a training about the configurator. Play with it and learn. But anyway, sorry. The backlash is described in the manuals. This is one of the very rare informations that you can't find in, because it's so specific that doesn't have any relation with the configuration. But if you go into our website, download. Still, I have problems with the screen because Zoom is interfering. Sorry, I have to often move. Download manuals. I do download the manual of for instance, box. Sorry, no, this is the wrong one because it was then this box line. Okay. Then you will find the backlash too. Look. Motive manuals are so beautiful, and no one's read them. It's such a pity. Here you find, you see, the backlash. You find also in the other helical gearboxes the same thing. Okay. So back to the chat. Vasim, a question? No, Vasim was privately. I'm not going to answer you, Vasim. Okay. So 1 hour is passed, and now I'd like to answer all your questions with one answer only. Play and learn. Okay? Do it. And if some of you are some distributors who want to offer this game to its customer, just ask it. It's a few minutes work of your web specialist. It's free. We don't ask you anything. Do it. Why not? It's like when we give catalogs to the clients or to the distributors. Why should we hide it? We don't want to hide what we are proud of. Anyone can play with our configurator, no login, also the clients of our clients. And if you want to put it, you are going to be a referral of us, and we are going to be happy of it. So, thanks to anyone for your listening. You are 47, you have started with 30. It means that you didn't run away. I'm happy to see it. Thank you very much. And See you to the next webinar. I don't know which one is going to be, but there are some in specific languages. For instance, in Romanian, there is going to be in Turkish, in Romanian, no, I already said Hungarian, and also in Russian. So if you are some of these clients speaking some of these languages, I hope to see you again. But this time I will be there as a participant because these are languages that I do not speak. Thank you.